All right, there we go. All right, so the man that I'm about to bring before you today, you've already heard me build up to this introduction, but I have a tremendous amount of respect for our speaker tonight. We met at a Passover meeting. Please mute your phones out. If you come on this live, please mute your phones immediately. We're about to get straight into the talk. All right, we gave individuals chances to be able to share testimonies. So the individual that I'm about to bring forward to you tonight, like I just said earlier, we met at a Passover group meeting, function. He was, he was coming and going with his wife. I was out there being a vendor. I was out selling my books, my two wisdom books, along with the numbers books that I have. And he actually patronized me, supported the work that I had going on, gave me his business card. I looked at his business card and I said, man, you don't come across these professional connections all the time among some of these audiences and groups of people that we're around. So, I followed up with the brother, drove up to his city, and we sat down. We had us a meal. We had a real good time. We connected. Like you ever been around someone where you felt like you was a brother or a sister right there on the spot? That's what I felt when I met up with this brother right here. We connected, built it. He was surprised that I even drove up to come see him, but I did, and the information that he shared was mind blowing. All right. And I'm a person that believes in wisdom. I'm a person that believes in building up wealth. But this man's knowledge is on a whole different level. All right. He's going to share some tidbits with you tonight. So please grab your pen, grab your pad. All right. I'm about to introduce this song, present to others. My brother from another mother, Joseph Lee. Welcome to the call. Welcome to the Zoom meeting. It's all on you, my brother.
Yes, yes. All praises to the Most High. I really, really appreciate you. You've been my brother since the day that I met you, man. And I, like you said, man, it was just a instant connection, man, and a kindred spirit, man. And I really, really appreciate you. Just that brotherhood that we do have, man. And I'm thankful just for the opportunity to be able to kind of break bread with everyone. And sometimes people are tempted to keep things to themselves whenever they, I guess, whatever we would see as made it, whatever that means, I guess. But for me, I'm always excited to be able to share whenever I do have an opportunity to do so. And I'm still growing, I'm still learning, still developing, and things of that nature. But like I said, just all praises to the Most High for everything that He's done. I will share a little bit about myself, and I'm thankful also for my wife. She's on here. She's that beautiful lady in the picture there with the white dress on, hair to the side. She's been my rib. She's been just my helpmate, and truly thankful for her because we met young as teenagers, and we've been together ever since. And she's seen the good, the bad, the ugly. She's seen it's really she's when you think about the wedding vows and everything like that you take. She's been somebody that's really been through it with me through thick and thin. So I'm thankful for her, and certainly I hope I can be able to share something this evening. I've jotted down a few things, but I don't want to talk too much. But at the same time, there are definitely some things that the Most High has put on my spirit that I want to share with everybody. Um, so I'll start off. Is it okay if I say a quick prayer, my brother?
Oh, go right ahead. Go right here. The floor
Okay.
is
Yeah.
yours.
All right. Abba Yehovah, we thank you just so much for just bringing us here today. The fact that we can break bread with each other and glean from each other, and the fact that you have us here today means that you've gotten us through so much. When others might not have made it, you saw fit for us to be here right now. And we didn't have to be here, but you saw fit for us to be here. We're thankful for that. Thank you for the blood that you shed for us. And we are thankful for just the love, Yahweh, that we feel here in the atmosphere. We thank you for my brother Joshua, Joseph, and him, and just his commitment to wisdom and wealth, and certainly the knowledge and understanding and the plethora of different things that he brings to the table with this. We thank you for because it's his time that he is just willing to share and to pour into others, and we're thankful for that. I'm thankful for what I've been able to get from it, and I've kind of only really been on maybe a few weeks, during that time frame, but I'm thankful for what I've been able to pick up from it. And certainly just let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart on tonight be acceptable in your sight, Most High. Lord, you're our Redeemer, our strength, and we thank you. Amen. Amen.
Hallelujah.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So first off, like I said, like he said, my name is Joseph Lee, and I come from a big family, family of 15 of us, and so I always grew up kind of neat with there's several different personalities. So I come from 15. There's 12 boys, 3 girls. So it was always a competitive situation, especially with that many boys, as you might be able to imagine. We're one household, one mom, one dad, and so it helped kind of shape who I am, and I think it helped shape instill a drive within me to be the best that I could be. And that's why I always tell people, take your experiences. And I know a lot of times we don't always come from the greatest backgrounds, and we grew up obviously with that many kids. It was some degree of poverty and things of that nature. But instead of looking at those things from a negative aspect, take those things and just say use them. And I think that's where I've been able to do that. And for me, early on, a work ethic was instilled in me from our father. Um, we, like I said, 12 boys and 3 girls. But my first job was actually with our father. My father, he was back then we did scrap iron, and so what he taught us how to do to get us to know how to work when we all got about maybe 5 or 6 years old, he taught us how to use a torch where you had the gasoline, the propane, and you had to know how to light the torch. And he would take us out into the country because with that many kids, you really a conventional job like in a factory or something like that was not going to get the job done. So when he would take us out there to the country, we would have these big combines and all kind of farm equipment and things like that, and stuff that was just huge. And you could see that if you ever roll out in rural Indiana or any kind of rural area, you can see this equipment. But he used to take us out there, especially on Saturday mornings, and we would have to go, even as just little kids. As long as you could pick up a torch, you had to learn how to cut steel, cut metal up. But he used us as his labor. But in hindsight, once we got old enough, we started realizing, like, all right, so he's trying to teach us that, you can't obtain anything. There's no shortcuts when it comes to life. But he would teach us how to do that. And we would take that, we would have to load the truck up. And my father had those big trucks where, where you could load about 2 or 3 tons of steel on that truck, man. So we'd be out there all day between cutting the steel up and throwing it on the truck, man. I mean, you'd be out there from sun up to sundown. And you really didn't have a choice in the matter. So work was always just one of those things in my mind that it wasn't optional. It wasn't something, even hard work or putting the work in, whatever it is that you wanted to do. That was never an option for me. And also my brothers as well. So I'm thankful for that because he had us do that. And it was manual labor, of course. I mean, so he did that. And then another side business he had was not construction, but we would do basically like demolition. So he would get these little contracts with all these local businesses and residents and stuff like that, where basically we would have to tear houses down, we would tear businesses down. So we were his labor for that as well. So we had to learn how to run a backhoe and tractors and different things like that to be able to kind of tear things down. He taught us about strategy. On top of the hard work and the physical labor and everything like that, he taught us about business as far as just like, how to save the money, that we did make and things like that. So early on in me, as far as just the work ethic thing, it was already programmed in my head from the time I was 5 or 6. So that's one of the things I want to tell people is like, look, don't underestimate the this thing of passing things down to our children. And I'm gonna tell you that it's never too early to start teaching them and dropping nuggets and whether it is whatever line of work you do, start showing them from an early age, because I'm telling you now, you never know what kind of impact that's going to have. More likely than not, they'll be able to utilize it, even if they don't end up growing up to do what you do. And that leads me to what I do. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about what I do. Um, 2015, I started in the mortgage world. My background before that was actually manufacturing management. Um, so I was kind of already wired for like Six Sigma, things like that, to where it was like, all right, how do we do things in an efficient way? But in 2015, well, actually the end of 2015, I decided to go into the financial services industry. I had reached out to a friend of mine that I had grown up with, and he was already in the mortgage world. So um, what I did was basically I said, hey, what need to do to get licensed to originate mortgages? And he told me what I needed to do. So about a month later, ended up, I was finished with my studies, ended up taking my test to become a licensed mortgage loan officer in beginning of 2016. So it was maybe around January, late January, early February when I actually started in the mortgage world. Began to just work up business. I committed myself to going in the office at 7 a.m. and usually I would make sure I was there at least till about 10 p.m. So 15-hour days and sometimes even a little bit longer. A lot of times I'd stay till close to midnight. But I committed myself to doing that for the first year. And again, I say that to say there aren't shortcuts. Regardless of what it is you decide to do in business, and if it's something that you want to do, commit to excellence. And that's what my mentality has always been whenever it comes to the financial industry and things business that I have. And I think that sometimes we kind of go into business and we just kind of go in a little bit ho hum, and maybe we're satisfied with mediocrity. But if you're going to put your time and energy to it, then commit to being the best at it, and that's my mentality, even when it comes to the mortgage world. So I did mortgages as a loan officer for about 5 years. And then the last 2 years of that company, when working with the companies that I used to work for, I was a branch manager for them. So I learned really all about how to run a profit and loss or P&L, and how to really run the company prior to actually starting my own company. So did that for about 2 years, and then I decided to, hey, I want to start my own mortgage company. For one, I never lost the love for what I guess the love and the motivation as to why it is that I do what I do. And that's why I want to tell you as well that just, whatever it is that you do, don't ever forget what motivates you. Don't ever forget why you're doing what you're doing. And I want to admonish everybody, find something more than that motivates you more than that's more than money. It's got to be more than money. At least for me it was, and it still is to this day. It's more than money. But one of my motivating factors for wanting to start my own mortgage company was I love, and I still to this day absolutely love, seeing our people being able to purchase homes. And not just our people, honestly, a lot of everybody. But definitely that's more of what my focus was, and that still is to this day. And that was one of my motivating factors for wanting to start my mortgage company. So I've done that. I did that actually. 2023 was when I started my own. May of 2023 was when I started my own mortgage company. And up to this date, as far as financing goes, I've given away about $250 million, so about a $250 million worth of loans and money to our communities throughout the country. But to me, I wanted to make a difference. So, and that number's only grown. We still doing it, but now what I love about what we do now, as far as like my own mortgage company, is being able to see the success of others around me and those that are working for my company. It's one thing to, again, it's not always about money, and it's you have to have something that motivates you. And that's another motivating factor that I want to make sure you're understanding, is that, look, when you have people that work for you and work with you, really there should be a joy and a deep pleasure as far as just like seeing their growth and their success. And I tell people that come with my company, I say, hey, I want to train you to the point and get you to the point where you can actually do this yourself, whether it be taking over this company someday or start your own company. But sometimes we fail to do that with people that we're working with, and people that are working under us. It's like, so for me, where your blessings really come in at is being a blessing to other people. And so that's my mentality all the time whenever we bring people in, whether they're loan officers or whether they're office managers that work for my company, whether they're development people. That mindset is always to how can I get the best out of them and how can I make them the best that they're going to be. And I want them. And I tell people that when we bring you on, I'm not one of those people who gets mad or upset when somebody's like, "Hey, I want to leave" or "It's time to shift." I don't do that. So for me, that's key. And on top of that, I have about maybe $4 million with my real estate portfolio. So we try to accumulate properties and purchase properties. So that's always a blessing, and that's something that you use as far as like strategizing for retirement income. And there's all kind of tools and things that you could do whenever you have a good real estate portfolio. So my mind shifted to Proverbs chapter 10, verse 4. And it says that he who has a slack hand becomes poor. And, that's obvious. It's very obvious. But it says, but the hand of the diligent makes rich. And if you look up that word rich in Strong's 86238, that's a word. It says ashar, 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 and it means to accumulate or to grow or to enrich one's self. And I'll say that again, that word is ashar. If you look at the Strong's 86238, it means to accumulate, to grow, or enrich oneself. And I say that again because a lot of times we automatically just equate that with money. But really, in actuality, money can just be a byproduct of being rich, and it definitely doesn't necessarily define it. Okay, money is just a byproduct of being rich. It doesn't necessarily define it, and that's where we have to start thinking differently about money. Think differently about money. And now more than ever before, there's all kind of tools and resources and books and things like that we can read when it comes to being financially literate. But again, it's about enriching oneself. So nowhere within that definition is it necessarily specific to money. So when we think about being rich, it's always about money. So what are you saying? Again, on top of the fact that I said that money is just a byproduct of being rich and it doesn't necessarily define it, where I'm wanting you to shift your mindset into is human capital. Human capital, because really everything starts here. What you have in wealth and everything that you can accumulate, it all really starts right here. And I know that can sound cliche, but that's just the truth. Because everything and anything that we've been given by the Most High, we've been endowed with the gift of creativity. I think we just don't use it enough. And so, really, in my mind, whatever it is that I've already had it for a long time. These things are just really coming to fruition, but it really started all right here in my mind. And that's where we have the benefit of being the children of the Most High. Is like, look, he's endowed us with these things, but it all starts here. And when we start thinking differently about money, it can really change your life, and it can change the life of other people. And when it changes our approach to how we do business. One of the books that I've read and I've always loved it was Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And Robert Kiyosaki, he says this about money. He said it, the idea that it takes money to make money is a misconception of people who are not financially sophisticated. I'll say that again, Robert Kiyosaki quote. I love it. But he says that the idea that it takes money to make money is a misconception of people who are not financially sophisticated. In other words, start thinking outside the box, because a lot of times all we do is just think about the money, and we think that we actually have to have it in order to get it. Yes, that can be one aspect of getting it, but the reality is it has to start from somewhere else. It has to start from somewhere else. And that was always my mentality when it came to business. And with my mortgage company and with my real estate portfolio, that's still how I think. And that's still the mindset that I have when I'm approaching business. So I want to drop 3 quick nuggets and 3 scriptures as well. And But one thing I was wanting to say was always be willing to pivot as needed. Always be willing to pivot as needed, even when it's uncomfortable. Because sometimes in business, whether you're running a flower shop, whether you're running a mortgage company, sorry, go ahead.
Hey, please, if you just dialed into the Zoom, please mute your phone out. Everyone, mute your phones out, okay? Please. Thank you.
Yeah, so we need to be willing to pivot as needed, even when it's uncomfortable. Sometimes you have to take calculated risk. And to be honest with you, I'll be honest. I do business with a variety of different people. There's the Indian community that I do business with, African community, African American community, Hebrew community, different ones. But I'm telling you now, we are the ones who really do not take calculated risk, but we're always the first ones to invest in something that we absolutely will not get a return on. Will not get a return on. And not only do we know this, but I'm telling you now, they know this about us as the Black and Hebrew community. They know that we're the ones who are the least, we're the most unlikely, unfortunately, to take a calculated risk, but they know that we're the first ones to invest in things that we will never get a return on. Never. I'm just saying. And we definitely don't spend within our own community. And that's a problem. That's a problem. So that you have to be willing to pivot as needed, and also even when it's uncomfortable. Most entrepreneurs get comfortable, which in turn they refuse to develop fresh strategies. In my mind and on paper, when I'm talking with my team, that's one of the things that we're always doing is developing fresh strategies, because the world is changing. That's not going to stop changing. The business world is changing. Tax brackets are changing. Tax strategies are changing. It's always changes the consistent thing in business. As an entrepreneur, it's consistent. So if you're not developing fresh strategies, in turn, you're limiting not just your potential, but all you can expect is about zero growth. Zero growth. And again, that's across industries. I don't care what it is. So always have it in your mind, and have that mentality and that mindset that says, you know what, I'm gonna make it a point to think critically. If it's not once a month, at least every other month or something, but put it on a schedule. Mine is on a schedule. I don't want to become stagnant. So what I do is I put it on a schedule, at least every month. And I'm getting together with my team, and my team about 2 or 3 people, maybe 4, but I'm having something as I take a look at my company and also my real estate portfolio. I'm looking at that and I'm saying, what can I do to improve? And how is the world around me changing? And how is it going to impact my company if I don't do this? So again, fresh strategies, because if you don't, you're limiting your potential, and all you can expect is zero growth. Proverbs chapter 22, verse 29 says this: See thou a man that is diligent in his business, or skillful with his work, said, he shall stand before kings, and he shall not stand before mean men, and men that really aren't even about anything. So it tells us that if we're diligent in business, then we're going to stand before people of high regard. We'll stand before kings. So the expectation should always be that, you know what, it's not that that's your goal necessarily to be in front of people of, I guess, that are held in high regard, but it's just a byproduct of being like this. And again, so if I'm skillful in business and I'm diligent with the work that I do, then it's my mentality and my expectation is that I'm already going to be in front of those people. And it's not for clout and things like that, but I just know that that's going to happen. And it has happened. And sometimes you just like, you look around and it's like, well, man, how did I get here? I'm just an old country boy from, the little town that, and, my father raised us to work hard and, integrity and different things like that. But hey, this is where it leads you to. So then my second point that I was going to bring up is this: bring on people that will challenge you and sharpen you. Bring those type of people around you. In other words, don't bring on a bunch of yes people that just look at you and have said, they're just the people that, they're always kind of willing to pat your back and kind of make you feel comfortable about. I have people around me that shift me and push me and make me feel uncomfortable sometimes when it comes to business and what I'm doing and things like that. And I count it all joy. Trust me, it's a blessing to me, because iron does sharpen iron. It's a fine line between creativity and common sense. And I'm going to tell you what I mean by that. It's a fine line between creativity and common sense. And I say that to say, don't reinvent the wheel unnecessarily. Okay. So you got to have that balance, because creativity is one thing, but also be willing to, like, if you're starting a business or if you're in business, look at what other sharp people around you have done. You know, sometimes reinventing the wheel, it can take a long time and it can become very, very inefficient. And if you're not willing to at least kind of look at some blueprints of what of similar things that you might be trying to do, I'm telling you, it becomes very inefficient. One of my things with when I started this mortgage company, guess what I did? I didn't just automatically think I knew everything. I was willing to go talk to people that had mortgage companies, and even the mortgage company that I left. You know, even just a few days ago, I called one of the owners of the company that I left, and I asked him. There was something I was having trouble with, and it was making my company kind of inefficient in one area. So I called him. You know, I said, "Hey, I know I haven't talked to you for about a couple of years or so, year and a half, but I maintained a good relationship with him. So he was willing to share with me, and I had the problem fixed in about 5 minutes. So instead of me trying to spin my wheels trying to figure out this problem that I had within my company, it was actually an integration issue that we were having between our point of sale system and our payroll system. And I'm like, well, you know what? I know they know that already. So I had enough of good enough relationship to where I was able to, I was able to just call him right away. So again, it's a fine line between creativity and common sense. My common sense was not going to allow me to sit around for 2 weeks trying to figure out something that I knew that I could make a 5-minute phone call and get the answers for. You hear me? Don't reinvent the wheel unnecessarily. Ask those who have done it. Proverbs chapter 15, verse 22 says, without counsel, plans fail, but with many advisors, they succeed. And I knew that. I know that. So I'm willing. Doesn't matter what, when I'm the president of the company, whatever position I have, it doesn't matter. But I'm going to get counsel, because plans fail when you start thinking that you just know everything. So that's been one of the big keys to success for me, is knowing who to ask, when to ask, how to ask. Approach is everything. And I'm telling you now, that's why it's important another nugget here is don't be careful about burning bridges. Okay. Because when I left that company, I could have easily burnt bridges, every bridge that I had to that company, and just said, you know what, screw y'all, forget y'all. I've got my own thing. I'm doing this, that, and the third. But no, I didn't, because my wisdom told me, be careful how you leave, because there's probably going to be a time where you're going to need somebody that's in that company to go back. And sure enough, I have. I've needed to go back and ask a couple of them, but I left on good terms. I left with relationships still in hand. Were they glad that I left? Absolutely not. But the reality was I still left the right way, and I maintained those relationships. Third and final point that I want to make, because I know you guys usually kind of take some Q&As or whatever we do here. I can't quite remember the exact format, but was to never waste a loss. Never waste a loss or losing something, whether that be financially within business or even personnel that you may have on board with you. Don't waste that loss. Yesterday, I actually lost one of our employees. She sent me a resignation letter, and that was absolutely fine. But the moment that I got that resignation email, I thought immediately, how can I use this for the benefit of the company and for the greater good of what we're trying to do and what we're trying to accomplish? So didn't get mad at her, didn't sit around. I mean, obviously I was disappointed but that disappointment lasted for literally about 30 seconds. And then my mindset immediately pivoted to, all right, how can I learn from this? Because people really haven't left my company, but she was first one. But the first thing I had to think about was, well, how can I, for one, I don't want to burn that bridge with her, because she might want to come back and she might end up being pretty sharp. But But the reality is, like, that was really where it went to. Never waste a loss. And I didn't really, now I don't really look at it as a loss, because now I'm like, man, I've been thinking so much, and talked with my office manager from that point about what we could have done better with this particular employee. My mind has went to all kind of places that it would not have went to if I didn't lose her. So I'm not wasting that loss. I refuse to waste that as a loss, and just say, hey, I'm not, sit around and mope about it, what, even if it, because I look at it as a gain, because now I'm thinking about things that I probably otherwise would not have been thinking about. And you also have to think about this: when you have people within your company, understand that even in life, not just within company, within business, but some people are seasonal. Some people are seasonal, and that is okay. That is okay. I know we have these interpersonal relationships, and sometimes we get close to people that we work with, people that we're connected with, and everything like that. But do understand this: some people are seasonal, and that's okay. A lot of people are seasonal. So we need to change our perspective on failure and on losing people, and things of that nature, especially when it comes to entrepreneurship, how we're approaching business and things like that. Psalm chapter 62, verse 6 says this: He only, or He alone, is my rock and my salvation. He's my stronghold, and I shall not be shaken. I shall not be shaken. I'm going to repeat that again. Psalm 62, 6. He alone, or He only, is my rock and my salvation, my stronghold, and I shall not be shaken. No matter where you get to in life, I don't care. You have to have that mentality that says, you know what? If I lose everything tomorrow, He is still my source. He's still my strength. He's still my waymaker. I won't be shaken. I won't be moved. This is I have to have stability, especially as the leader of my family, as the leader of my company, as the leader of myself. You hear what I'm saying? So as a leader, we always think about leadership and things like that, and these losses and things like that. But the reality is this: when it comes to self, the first person the main person that you should have leadership over is yourself. So for me as a leader, I tell myself I shall not be shaken. Why? Because I know whose I am, I know who I am, and whether this company, whatever direction, Lord, you take this company in, I know you've got it. So those are the things that I wanted to share with you all. Hopefully some of these scriptures, some of these nuggets. I mean, certainly my brother, I appreciate you, and any questions or anything that you guys have, feel free to take it from here. But I definitely wanted to drop some of these things to y'all, and all praises to the Most High.